One of the most exciting events of this year was a retrospective of Kim Novak's art titled Kim Novak: An Iconic Vision at the Butler Institute of American Art in Ohio. The exhibition covered several decades of Kim's work, which include more than 75 pieces: oil, watercolor, pastel, photography, sculpture, and stained glass. The exhibit attracted crowds of art lovers who were thrilled to see Kim's art, many for the first time. Many of Kim's pieces is the fusion of traditional realism and surrealism, many of which contain hidden elements that speak to ways she sees a variety of social issues. This was once in a lifetime experience, and I was delighted to be a part of this. Among many guests attending the event was a renowned and highly respected American artist and Kim's mentor, Harley Brown, who always admired Kim's art. I had a rare opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with Harley Brown about Kim's art. In this exhibition, we see Kim's art spanning decades. What is your impression of the evolution of her as an artist?
Well, when she was, she always had a wonderful sense of design, which was totally, it's the kind of design you don't get in art books. It's very individual. Works from her earlier years, flat design kind of a thing, and picturesque, they were still very unique. But as time went on, it's hard to really, because she's so individual, I haven't got words to describe other than when I first saw her paintings in a room we were working together, and I saw her paintings, I wanted to go up and say, well, you should do this and maybe not do that. And she'd listen. And she maybe changed it a little bit, but it always veered back to her original thought because it was so powerful within her. So she's not, you wouldn't say that you would look at her works as the groundwork of design and composition. It's totally individual, unique, that I've personally have never seen anything like it. The surreal influence in her mind just pours out on that paper from her young years. Then I looked at when she's in the middle. Ask me another question.
Okay, well, that actually brings me to my next question. What do you think is one thing that is constant over the years in her art?
Very constant in her work is that she's a total individual, much like, well, Chagall, many of the artists of the past where you see their work. But I'll tell you this, her works, I go to a lot of art shows and even the greats, and I'll go through and I'll admire their work. But when I look at her work, the one thing that comes back at me is her total honesty. She is an extremely honest visually, and some of her works actually jar me when I see them again. Uh, I can't give you the names of them, but I think people that are familiar with her works, when they look at them, they wonder what's going on there. But there's something to her that's real. And in fact, she puts the real in surrealism. But I would say if you wanted the one word to give about Kim's work, she is an exceedingly honest artist visually, and what she does, and she sticks to it. She'll listen to me a bit, and maybe she'll throw in one or two things, but the overall strength of her work is, and this is why uh, when you're talking to somebody and they're honest and they're very natural, you never get tired of them. Her paintings you never get tired of. I love looking at them over and over again, and each time, and I say that a lot of her works are masterpieces. With a work like hers, you find something new in it every time.
Did any of her pieces from this exhibition surprise you?
I've seen a lot of them. I think the surprise is in seeing when I've seen them years ago, and I can't give you the names, I wish I could. The one girl with the little hummingbird and the red hair, that one is totally buried in my head. And when I saw that again, I took a deep breath because of its power with me. And nobody in the world would paint that. Only her would have the originality to say, that's what I'm going to paint. This face of the girl with the red hair and the hummingbird to the side. It almost looks like the hair is being cut with the wings of the hummingbird. But that one there was like seeing somebody I had seen from the past that affected me. But in this way, it was in a good way. But it was very, very powerful, as were a number of her pieces.
Now, do you think of Kim as an actress who could paint or a painter who could act?
Oh, boy. Well, no, I'll say a painter because she's done it all her life. And it's like she acted, of course, riveting. Her acting and her painting are very personal. Whatever any Hitchcock or whatever anybody told her to do, it still came out Kim. It still was her. When I first saw her in the scene in Picnic, I never forget. I think she was washing her hair. She was leaning out the window, and Susan Strasberg was beneath her sister in the movie, and and then you could see her face. But there was something about her that totally was riveting, and the whole movie was her, like Vertigo and any other movie she's been in. Everything else is background. And with her art, I'll tell you this, if she had one of these, and it sounds like I'm overly doing this, but I'm not. If there was a room of paintings and one of hers was in that room, the one that she did in that room would be remembered. And I've seen people stand and look at her works, trying to analyze them. Well, it'll take several visits to analyze. It's like a complex person. You can't just look at oh, well, I understand that guy or that woman. There's a mystery to her art. And I'm wondering if I'm sure that sometimes she doesn't realize some of the mystery she places within her paintings, because I think a lot of it comes subconsciously pouring out. And that subconscious of hers is totally unique. And what was I thinking of a word of, charismatic. She is charismatic and her art is charismatic.
Now, what do you think her legacy as an artist should be?
Well, we were saying that as an artist, as an actress, as a writer, all of the arts kind of combined. I would say that her art like many of the artists of the past, surrealists and so on, I think her art has a way of never, okay, I can honestly say you never tire of it. I could go to her show right now and look at all of the paintings and be affected. Some of them I have a lifted feeling. Some of them I'll not mention which ones, but some kind of, I stand back and get a feeling in my head of an electric. Some of them a loving feeling where she has an animal or a person in it with an absolute feeling of adoration. I think that what she's going to hand the world of art, and I say that a lot of art is sure not going to last a century, hers will. I want this video to be seen 100 years from now, and people will say, my God, he's right, 100 years from now, because Kim's art will be honored 100 years from now, 200. Like all artists in all of the arts, there is a certain amount of insecurities, but I think those insecurities are a plus, because those insecurities are revealed in the arts, whether it be acting and so on. And that's what makes her unique. And she doesn't realize how great she is, but she is. And I don't lie about art. It's if I have a relative that's not any good, I'll tell the relative, I go into plumbing. But with her, I say that, and I didn't know this at first when I saw her works at first. But as I continued to see her works, back and forth, this and that, for various reasons, I realized how great she is. And she's a powerful, powerful person in the visual arts. And like I say, it'll be that I can point out the paintings on the wall there that will be seen 100 years from now, 200 years from now, guaranteed, in my humble opinion.
Now, what does Kim's friendship mean to you?
She is the truest, most. There's no phoniness, and you can, when she says hello to you, just a simple hello, it's a feeling of warmth. You know that you're accepted, and my friendship, the feeling that I have with her, is undiminished and grows stronger as time goes on, simply because we know a bit more of each other, a bit more. Anybody that knows her knows that you're with somebody you never want out of your life. Even if I don't see her for a while, and even if I don't hear from her, you know that there's that connection still. So I want us to live forever and know each other forever and let it blossom, I can't wait to see what she's going to do next year or the year after.
And finally, last question. What is your favorite Kim Novak movie?
Well, it has to be Picnic, simply because that's when I first fell in love with her. I was a kid. I understood that women were wonderful and not just there to tease me. And I saw that movie, and when I looked at her, after she was, the sister having fun and that, and all of a sudden she, with the romance that happened with William Holt, and of course the dance, that movie, I think, affected a lot of people. My friends, myself, there was something totally magnetic about her. And up to then, I had about 5 movie stars that I was crazy about. Well, I cast them all aside. Sadly, they were gone, and Kim remained. And the fact that when I first met her for real, I went home. I went home and learned to play Moonglow on the piano, just to remind me of her. And I played it over the years, and I played it for her. Who would have known, when I was walking out of that movie, having seen her in Picnic, who would have known that I would one day play that piece for her? And she appreciated it. for many reasons, picnic has to be. And then, of course, she was terrific in every other. But I adore her, and I think Carol understands, and my darling wife understands that I adore Kim, but my wife has allowed that one part of me to be released, and I think that pretty well sums it up.